Happy holiday, Dolphins! And NFL fans out there wondering what's going to happen as the Dolphins world turns.
That's not what they're wondering. Right now they're wondering, what is that on their heads? Because I'm wondering about that myself.
I am in a festive mood today. It was Christmas yesterday. Dave, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy Festivus.
Yes, I am a tree, I think, and you are an emoji, a Christmas
me a
emoji.
poopy head for a while here. Now I'm literally that.
Now you are
This is
officially
what
a
my
poopy
career's
head.
come to.
Well, so has the season. Anybody who is a Dolphin fan, you feel poopy head-ish. It's week 17 of the regular season, and the Miami Dolphins are yet again not participating in the postseason. Merry Christmas to you, Dolphin fans. Miami's 17-7 loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars made sure that didn't happen. For the fifth time this year, the Dolphins failed to gain over 200 yards of total offense, Dave. 200 yards.
Great defense, Omar. Great defense. As Adam Gase said, why is anybody surprised?
Listen, Jacksonville is a great defense, but they also used Blake Bortles, dusted him off, put in their mediocre quarterback, ran the QB option, got them down the field to score a field goal to take the lead. And then what happened, Dave? The gift that keeps on giving.
Little Ryan Tannehill president under the tree of Jacksonville, and they opened it, and interception, pick six, game over.
Pick six, game over. Really, that's so Dolphins. It's funny that we've been using that term for so long. That's so Dolphins.
It keeps happening.
It keeps happening, and unfortunately, I have this opinion that it's just going to keep on happening. Right now, the Dolphins, we saw this picture of Steve Ross sitting in his owner's booth, Dan Marino to his right, Mike Tannenbaum, his vice president of football operation, to his left, right after the interception, and Steve's like, woe is me.
That was a winning caption contest right there, right? I mean,
why didn't we do that?
It had to be Mike Tannenbaum thinking, do not look at the owner right now. And Dan Marino saying, I can't believe what I'm seeing on the field.
Man.
And Steve Ross saying, I am a multi-billionaire feeling sick about my business.
And the sad thing is, and what's disappointing is that this is an extension. This isn't a new feeling. I felt it and seen it all year, going back to the owners' meeting.
I've felt it all millennium. I mean,
but you know, when you're a billionaire, you're a mogul, you're worth $5 billion, probably more than that. You feel like you could do anything in the world, don't you, Dave? Anything you touch turns to gold.
No, because when you're in the business world, you don't have a quarterback in your company, you go buy one.
That's true.
In sports, it doesn't work that way. You got to put in the right people which we're going to lead into at some point this show, right, Omar, about where we're going.
Now, here's our first question that comes from Liam. How far are the Dolphins from legitimacy? And we'll go by your standards of legitimacy, because my 2 decades of...
Let's not lower the bar.
Yeah.
We're not bringing the bar down.
Listen, my 2 decades is
they
get
made
to the
playoffs.
Yes,
They made
get
the
to the
playoffs.
playoffs. Let's deal by your standards. Legitimacy means get to the final game.
Legitimacy means making progressive steps, building a contender with the idea of a Super Bowl, not...
So it's defined by building a contender.
Building a contender, yes. Because you don't do that in one offseason, which is the mistake of this franchise. They need a comprehensive plan instead of filling holes. For years, they fill holes. Oh, we need a tackle, we need a guard, we need this position, we need that position.
We need a coach.
Well, that's different. That's the comprehensive plan. That's where it comes in.
Oh, but they filled holes that way.
Yes.
They have filled holes that way. We need a GM. Oh, the GM's gone bad. We need a coach. Oh, the coach has gone bad.
So they're to answer your question, I would say they're a long way, because you got to get everybody in place right before you can get the roster right. And right now, Mike Tannenbaum, by all accounts, isn't going to be back. And that starts the dominoes of change and what's going to happen. And we'll see. My thought, and I believe yours is too, is get a strong personnel guy, a football czar, someone with a vision on how to build a roster and build an organization. And within that, build the culture. But the idea is you need the plan first, and it comes down to getting one guy can change a franchise, and you got to find that guy.
You definitely have to find that guy. I've got my ideas and criteria in terms of things that they should try to do, but we'll get into that later in the show. Emal has our next question. Despite a better record, I think there are more issues with this team going into the offseason than last offseason. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there are from the standpoint, first of all, not only the roster questions, quarterback, defensive end, one cornerback. I mean, you can go through. We all know what the problems are this year.
Quarterback.
But
hell, you don't even know who the running back is.
you can find running backs. We're not worried about that.
Oh, yeah.
But now you got, okay, where do we go in the front office? Where do we go to find someone?
Who do we give final say and final power to? Let's say Mike Tannenbaum is removed. Does Adam Gase get final say?
Better not.
Does
Better
Chris
not.
Greer get final say, final power?
You need to find that guy. Now, who that guy is, Steve Ross has sat. Look, last time we went through this a few years ago, the cycle, every few years we go through it. He sat with New England's assistant general manager, Nick Cesario, okay, and he didn't want to give him full control. Now, he talked to Cesario. He knows how he wants to build a franchise. He knows, and others. So he's got the idea of how to
do. And he knew what forced him to pick his fourth pick as general manager, which was the fact that he wanted to force everybody to inherit
Joe Philbin
at the time. And if nobody believes in Joe Philbin, why should they have to inherit him?
Right. If you're going to get the right guy, first of all, anybody who would accept everything out there status quo isn't the right guy. You want someone who has a vision to build a franchise, and that starts with building the right people. Now, maybe he'll decide these are the right guys here, but you got to give him the latitude to.
Maybe once a year, maybe he wants, and Steve Ross once a year, to say, hey, explore them, see what they're like, and then go from there. But I agree with you. I want somebody who's going to come here, build their own scouting department.
Absolutely.
Because if you have the same scouting department picking the groceries, the meal is probably going to continue to taste the same. But that's another issue.
All right, Omar. Our next question comes from Ross Nobles. Who has the hottest seat, Greer, Tannenbaum, or Gase?
When we brought in this regime together, well, not together, but Tannenbaum has been here 4 years. He came here a year before Greer was promoted, and came and a year before Gase was hired. He's been here the longest. His first order of business was go out and sign in Ndamukong Suh. Number one thing that they did this offseason, dumping Ndamukong Suh.
I was for signing Ndamukong Suh.
I was too.
I'm not going to lose my job over that.
Yeah. Well, these decisions, I'm sorry, but one of the second things he did was give an extension to Ryan Tannehill. This offseason.
I don't have a problem with the extension.
To create salary cap space, they moved the money around. Well, it doesn't really change their commitment to him, but you're pushing more cap space down. It's a heavier dead money situation, all because you were trying to win now.
Now it's $26.6 million in salary cap space to Ryan Tannehill if you're bringing him back.
It really cap numbers isn't real.
So who's got the hottest seat? I think we'd all agree Tannenbaum.
It has to be Tannenbaum.
Because he has the most responsibility, which makes him the most accountable for things that have gone wrong.
And I will say this. I'm not pleased with the roster that has been built for Adam Gase before the season.
Adam Gase is helping build that roster.
That's true.
That doesn't all go on Tannenbaum.
That doesn't all go on Greer. Because I think Greer is in charge of the personnel. The guy's in charge of the money, the guy's who's in charge of the vision is Tannenbaum. Greer's in charge of the talent and the roster and the personnel. Don't like talent, roster, and personnel. Then we get to coaching. 30th offense, 30th defense. Don't like the coaching situation. 5 games where you've scored, where you've gained 200 or fewer yards. In today's NFL, that's crazy. That's cray-cray.
All right, Omar. GLH205 wants to know, do you have faith that the ownership can hire better coaches / GM, or more faith that another year under Gase can show more improvement?
I don't. When it comes to faith with the owner.
A lot of faith being tossed around here.
When it comes to faith with the owner, I believe that Steve Ross will do anything in his power that he can afford. He can afford everything. When it comes to resources, there is no limitation in terms of what he'll spend or what he'll spare. if it was Harbaugh out there, an available Harbaugh that wasn't coaching his college franchise, maybe he would pursue him and make him the highest paid coach in the NFL. I don't think resources is a limitation. To me, the biggest issue that I have, and I like Adam Gase, and I've written a column and I still stand by it, Adam Gase deserves another season because of what he's done, what he's accomplished. That is my opinion.
What's he accomplished? And I'm not saying to get rid of him. I'm just saying what's he
at
accomplished.
500. He's potentially, if he wins in Buffalo, he'll be at
Joe
500.
Philbin was 500. I mean, that's not an accomplishment.
Joe Philbin never had to play 25 games without a starting quarterback.
Well, why don't they have a better option?
That's on Adam Gase. And I agree with you. I'd strip him of personnel power, control, because I don't like a lot of the decisions that he makes. And I don't think he has a good sense of, a good gauge of talent in terms of what he needs. Yeah, Albert Wilson, but that's probably one of 10 things.
Jay Cutler.
Frank Gore panned out for him. But listen, you don't make those decisions in a vacuum. He even talked about management, Greer, and Tannenbaum had to talk me into Brock Osweiler. They make it all together. But yes, I will acknowledge, my biggest issue with Gase is I'm not sure that a good quality defensive coordinator is going to want to come here and work for him.
My question this past week, he's saying wackadoodle things for any pro coach. We can't win on the road because the schedule, our timing against them is too tough. We were meeting Boston or the Patriots at the wrong time.
They're desperate.
Bengals at the wrong time.
They were hot.
The Packers at the wrong time.
They were desperate.
They still the Vikings at the wrong. I mean,
they were hot. No, they were hot.
And now the excuse is the injuries.
Bad matchup.
Injuries.
The injury's been the excuse all year, Dave.
It's now a very public one from him. It's been read between the lines excuse for a while, right? But now he went public with it. Why do they have injuries? And we've been over this on this show and elsewhere, Omar. In my mind, yes, they got unlucky with Albert Wilson. Okay, yeah, that's football. That's football. The bigger question is they brought in 5 free agents over 31 years old this year. Mm-hmm. Some with injury history. Josh Sitton, for example, was on a maintenance program. He hardly had any contact in the spring, summer, preseason, anytime, because they knew his body was fragile. First game, he gets hurt. Now, the question is that injury unluckiness, or is that bad planning? 3 of the 35-year-olds, over 31-year-olds were out of the season in September. That's bad planning.
And then we got Frank Gore, who goes on IR last week with a foot injury. William Hayes, but some of those key injuries, Dave, they were supposed to prop up your team. Sitton and Kilgore were supposed to make you
cannot count on old people to prop up your team.
Cam Wake, you're not counting on Cam Wake.
Well, he's there. Yeah. You're not going out and investing.
William Hayes, they re-signed him. William Hayes was a soldier.
Bad planning. Okay, Omar, one of the major topics to debate this offseason will be same topic we've had for 7 years, right? Tannehill. The Dolphins starting quarterback, the team's first-round pick in 2012, is having a career year. I didn't write this.
You're struggling to say that?
A career year for Miami, despite
it's 99.0 passer rating, not a career year?
With a capsule shoulder injury.
Is 99.0 passer rating not a career year for Ryan Tannehill?
If you define his career by passer rating, I suppose it is. Okay.
We define his career by wins. 65% completion, that's second best in his career. Because he's only played 10 games, 1,823 yards, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions now. I think 3 of those interceptions are pick sixes?
3, yep.
3. Yeah. Tough. 7.5 yards per
which
attempt.
Is good. That's a good, healthy number. I mean, not great, good.
7.5 per yard attempt. But here's the thing about Tannehill. 6 games with 200 yards or fewer in the 10 games that he's played, that he's thrown for. 6 games with 200 yards or fewer. He hasn't thrown a 300-yard game this season. Has not thrown a 300. And then some of the games where he has done well, they've been little pitch plays.
Right.
They're cheating. They're
Why doesn't it add up? Why doesn't it add up, Omar?
Why doesn't it add up? Because on third downs and in the fourth quarter, where quarterbacks need to make those big boy throws, critical plays, thread the needle, move around in the pocket to buy some time, scramble around to buy some time to find an open receiver, to allow a receiver to get a little bit of opening. He can't do it.
Yeah, I'd put it on not only that, and first of all, I'm not blaming Ryan Tannehill here. He's been there, they've known what he is, and they keep investing and reinvesting and reinvesting.
And reinvesting.
And so, to me, game 4, you're 3-0. He's played 3 nice, efficient games at home against mediocre opponents for the most part. But they've won, he's been fine. They go up to New England. This is a defining moment for, I thought, this season. They get blown out 38-0 with Ryan Tannehill's off. They did nothing, and they're healthy.
Yep.
Okay, you want to talk health? And the Patriots were reeling.
New England's hard to beat up in Foxborough. I'm just saying. I mean, statistically, he's right.
I have no problem if they didn't beat them. You got to compete that day. You have to compete. You cannot be blown out 38-0 without me thinking, same old Dolphins.
But then come back down home, South Florida.
Same old Dolphins.
Miami Miracle.
They show that blip.
Yeah.
That we got something.
Give you hope. Give you hope. Dolphins were in the playoff race till December until that loss to Minnesota, and season's starting to unravel from there. Alex wants to know, now that you've seen Tannehill come back and essentially finish the season, what's your final grade on him? And is he worth bringing back? Tannehill is on the books. If the Miami Dolphins keep him for 2019, you will pay him $18.75 million.
I'm not doing that. I can go out and look, Adam Gase told you a lot about what he thought about Ryan Tannehill to me in the Indianapolis game.
All season.
He's got 2 3rd-and-10s in the final minutes, and both times he wanted nothing to do with Ryan Tannehill trying to win it. He got, as Joe Philbin said, queasy. Now, this is a guy you've invested 7 years in, and you're not going to do that. So I'm not coming back with Ryan Tannehill. If that's what I think of him, I'm not coming back with him. Go out. You can find any other There's a lot of quarterbacks out there you can manage.
Are they really,
sure.
Dave?
Sure. There's a lot of them.
Teddy Bridgewater, Nick Foles.
Here's what I'm saying. You can't. Your record should not be worse with other people. Buffalo, if they win today, they're going to have 6 wins with Nathan Peterman started the year, and now they got Josh Allen, who's not, he's a rookie quarterback, ups and downs, and sometimes he'll hit the receiver, sometimes he'll hit the popcorn stand. So, okay, and what I'm saying is the Dolphins could do the same if they wanted to do that type of stuff. Ryan Tannehill, 7 wins, Josh Allen, 6 wins.
Here's my thing. Teams don't dump commodities that have value. And Ryan Tannehill still has value. Somebody is going to want him and consider him a starter in the NFL.
Trade him to Jacksonville for a 4th-round pick.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Are we on board with that?
Oh, we're on board. Maybe we swap him Blake Bortles.
And it'd be so Dolphins. Mike Pouncey is now in the Pro Bowl. Next year, we're all pounding the table. No, not Tannehill. He stays healthy. He has a good defense, and they win 11 games, and they're, which could happen.
Which could happen.
But if our bar is a contender, he's not my quarterback.
He's
time to move on.
Yeah, I think that no matter what, they should draft a quarterback, but I wouldn't be opposed to either you trading for Nick Foles, because he's under contract.
I think he's a free agent.
He's under contract for next season.
Okay.
Now it's a like $20 million. It's a real and
for 1 year?
No. In that situation,
you would have to
his
re-sign.
new organization is going to have to re-sign and restructure the deal. You know how quarterbacks always hustle these teams, much like
executives. As I would if I was a quarterback. All right, Omar. What if Steve Ross were to retain both Gase and Tannehill? Would you laugh or would you cry? Or would you wear the poopy head?
No. I am a believer. Number one, I'm a believer in hire somebody with a football background who's either played or coached the game to run your football operations, and then let him make his decisions. If he decides that I don't handcuff him like Steve Ross has been known to do. Don't force him to inherit a GM, Jeff Ireland. Don't force him to inherit a coach, Joe Philbin. No. Let him decide. Give him the job. Say whatever you want to do is on you. And let him decide. That's the number one thing I would do. Now, if you hired that individual and they said, I want to see Adam Gase coach another season, just like the Cleveland Browns did, so be it.
I don't think John Dorsey wanted to see that.
He allowed it, though.
He took the job with that proviso.
Maybe.
But regardless, your point's well taken.
But if Adam Gase is back, and I kind of believe he'll be back. I do believe he will be back because I think this owner believes in the injury excuse. It happens. I mean, injuries. Could this team have been 9-7? They didn't lose to Jacksonville. Yeah, they could have been. Could they have been 10 wins if they didn't lose to?
Would they be any closer to winning anything
absolutely
important?
Not.
That's the question. They need to be honest with themselves here. And
how often do you think the Dolphins are honest with themselves as an organization? I would say never.
Not in the last many years.
Not in the last decade. Honesty is not something that this organization does well. And you know why they don't do this well? Because they're always trying to protect themselves and save themselves and hey, let me secure my little niche of power here. And when you do that, I don't think Steve Ross has had an honest conversation about his organization. Because if so, why would Ryan Tannehill be the starter?
Well, because you have all three of your top football people saying we can win with Ryan Tannehill. That gets to the talent of the people, but that doesn't mean they're dishonest. It could be they're just wrong for years and years.
So they don't know something and believe something that everybody in their own fan base and every media contingent sees as clear as day.
You've been around him. You know Adam Gase.
Oh, he loves him.
They married at the end of 2016. Ryan Tannehill won a lot of games, and he said that's the guy. Now, that wasn't who Ryan Tannehill is. That was an uptick.
Yeah,
okay.
And we've seen the uptick. We saw the uptick 2 weeks ago before we head into the Minnesota game. He was like, the 6th rated quarterback in the NFL? The problem is, he's also Ryan Tannehill, which means you're going to get games with 122 quarterback rating, and then you're going to get the 60 quarterback rated games, and it equals out to an average quarterback.
The real franchise malpractice isn't keeping Ryan Tannehill. It's the fact that they didn't invest in another young quarterback to develop, and now they're bankrupt at quarterback.
They're terrified of having Ryan Tannehill compete. Terrified of splitting that locker room and having players think.
You mean on the practice field, seeing like in Baltimore this year?
Yes, absolutely.
Lamar Jackson looked great in practice, and they think all the players are seeing we can win with this guy. And Joe Flacco looked like Joe Flacco.
Same thing in Kansas City, where they watch those practices and hell, Deshaun Watson. Look at that situation. And
they didn't get it, but now they don't have a quarterback either. So
yes.
the Dolphins. So
they've shied away from taking a quarterback since 2012. They've really taken Brandon Doughty, but they haven't found anybody to invest in. It's Brandon Doughty.
He's a 7th round pick.
Yeah, it's a 7th round pick.
That's not investing.
But they could have invested in a quarterback instead of taking one of these tight ends.
Absolutely.
Mike. They chose not to.
They should have been the team. They should have been the Ravens trading up and grabbing Lamar Jackson. It crushes my heart to see him doing that well, Omar. All right, Steve Ross Vic DeMonte wants to know, Steve Ross has a tendency to stay with the front office 1 year too long. Is there any way possible that he keeps this regime intact for one more season? And how?
Unfortunately, people are creatures of habit. I don't think you change what a 71-year-old his way of doing business, and I truly do believe that they're going to remove Mike Tannenbaum. This is what he's done. He stopgap his entire tenure here. He's going to remove Mike Tannenbaum and say, okay, I want an executive, but you're going to have to inherit the GM and you're going to have to inherit the coach. Okay, well, that's going to kind of turn me off.
Well, the easy way to do that, and I put it is Dan Marino moves into that role, right? I mean, which, first of all, if I'm Dan Marino, do I want to ruin a good life? I got a good life going, right? I show up to football practice, watch a little film, talk with the guys.
If you're Steve Ross, do you also want to put yourself in that situation where you might have to fire Dan Marino in 4 years?
I don't think he thinks 4 years down the line in that regard, does he?
I would think every organization has to think 4 years. And why are contracts only 4 years long?
Brad, I'm with you. Go out, find somebody.
I can see the Dan Marino being the shell game. And here's the reason I could see Dan Marino being the shell game. He's built a trust, he's built a rapport. Marino's a person who's been in the football organization, so he's seen everything, been a fly on the wall, been in meetings, knows the players.
And we don't know what he's telling Ross about.
We don't know.
Maybe all along he said, I don't like this, why are they doing this? But we don't know.
We absolutely don't know. But the question is, Dan Marino turned this job down in 2004.
2004.
This exact job, correct?
He took the job.
Then quit.
But come on, that's 14 years ago.
He's matured. It's 14 years ago. Could he be ready? Could he want to be a John Elway? Absolutely. Who doesn't want to be a John Elway? But now, do you
John Elway doesn't want to be John Elway right now. He's taking like 18 wrong quarterbacks.
Listen, but who doesn't want the power and ability to be the hero of your town again by building a franchise that's a winner? Unless you don't want to do the work.
Unless you don't want to do it. And there's several questions going down the Dan Marino path. Is A, does he want to, 24/7, wake up at 3 in the morning thinking about, oh my God, what are we going to do at left guard?
Problems, dealing with analytics.
Getting calls from agents.
Yeah, oh my God, the conversations with agents he's got to have, that would be unbearable.
So does he want to do that? I have no idea.
And what would be his specialty? Even though Mike Tannenbaum's specialty was a cap and it's not that great, but
his specialty would be what we talked about before. What has he told Ross about the roster? This is what we got to fix. This is what we got. So Chris Greer, you go find us this.
Here's what makes me uncomfortable with the whole Dan Marino conversation. And if that's the route that the Dolphins go, just to keep everything status quo, it would be so Dolphins. But here's what would make me uncomfortable in this situation. If I'm Dan Marino and I've been in this organization for 3 years, I sit next to Steve Ross at these games, and I watch Ryan Tannehill throw pick six against Cincinnati, and I watch Ryan Tannehill throw pick six against Jacksonville, and I watch the team not compete in Minnesota, and I watch a quarterback that couldn't hold my jockstrap. Not to say that it's easy to find somebody. Would I not turn to Steve Ross at some point and says, that's not your guy?
How do you know he didn't, though?
Well,
how do you know he didn't? Now, that gets back to roles. His role is an advisor. He's not the vice president of personnel or football operations. He's not the GM. He's not the head coach, all of which backed Ryan Tannehill. Their careers married to them. We don't know why that Dan Marino isn't off to the side saying, what are they doing? Steve Ross, you don't want to go down this path. We don't know that, right?
We don't. But at some point, you got to be, if you have the owner's ear, you got to be able to say something that steers him one way or the other.
If he got this job, maybe it's because he did that, right? Okay. Maybe it's because he said, no, we cannot go Ryan Tannehill again. I don't know, but food for thought. All right, David has a good question. I know all the fans are down in the dumps, but what quick moves can the organization make to get people believing there's a future again, other than drafting a quarterback?
Okay, so we're not gonna talk about drafting a quarterback. Everybody knows that's a given. You gotta do it. Make it happen. It's time. Stop making excuses. But I think that even with a rookie quarterback or with a free agent quarterback, if you go out and you get Le'Veon Bell, a workhorse back, and every down type of player, a talent who is a transformative player in his prime. Is he not a transformative player?
Oh, great player. He's a great player. I agree.
Isn't your job to go get great players? Why do you care how much it costs?
This would be showing, once again, we need a player here, let's go spend the money and get. We need a player here. It would be so Dolphins move.
It is this Mike Wallace, Brandon Marshall, Carlos Daly, and Dominican Sue.
On down the line. Running back especially. A running back. Did Pittsburgh miss Le'Veon Bell? Yeah. But you know what? They're
on the fringe of not making the playoffs.
Okay, but their running back situation. You need a Le'Veon Bell. I'm not saying they didn't miss him, but they got another good running back to step in there. Baltimore right now, Gus Edwards, undrafted rookie out of the University of Miami originally. He's an impact back. You can find those guys. You do not invest huge money on Le'Veon, and that would be, especially if they keep these people intact and they're plugging holes in the dike. And that would be a perfect move. That would be a perfect let's try to win next year move.
It's so Dolphins, which is why it's perfect.
And that's get back to, you need a big picture plan.
I'll also give you a more plug the holes in the dike move. Teddy Bridgewater, Nick Foles. Those are the two upper echelon quarterbacks that are going to be out there in the free agency, depending on what happens with Ryan Tannehill. You get either one in here, I don't think you're up or down a win or loss. And a veteran quarterback, I'm not sure that's the answer or the route that you want to go, but it makes sense if you're ready to move on from Ryan Tannehill and don't want to become the Jets or the Cardinals or the Bills.
And the Jets didn't want to be the Jets. Remember, they tried to get Kirk Cousins. So you're right. A lot of teams would try to do that.
And the Jets signed Teddy Bridgewater before they traded him. I would be, they were too focused on selling hope, but, Teddy Bridgewater might have led them to more victories. Not to say that that's going to save Todd Bowles' job.
All right, Schneider Lewis has a tough one, but I think we've gone over it, but we can do it again. If you were the owner, what would you do this offseason?
Me?
You're the owner. Owner Omar.
Owner Omar. The number one thing that I would do is I would go have a conversation with Louis Riddick, and depending on what I hear in that conversation, depending on how real he is with me, and I'm a Louis Riddick fan, I believe there was only one person in the entire media industry that was singing Patrick Mahomes' praises during the draft and last season, and that was Louis Riddick.
I wish you wish you'd had him in the front office then, right?
Yeah. One person in the world, I pay attention to these things, one person in the world that sung Patrick Mahomes' praises, and that was Louis Riddick. I need me an executive who's going to find him. I discovered Louis Riddick a couple of years ago. I remember Mike Wallace was on the team. It was one of those, why can't Mike Wallace get the ball situation? And I didn't know who Louis Riddick was on television. I barely ever watched ESPN, and there he was on my screen. And the team that I covered, in a span of 5 minutes, he accurately and concisely broke down every single issue that they had as an organization. I go, holy crap, who is this guy?
Now, I love Louis Riddick on TV for all the reasons you just went to. However, he hasn't been in the league since 2013, and he's never run a team.
He's been there, though.
He's been director of pro personnel.
Chris Graves hasn't never run a team till he did. Mike Tannenbaum never ran a team till he did.
But they're not just running a team. They're hiring a coach. They're doing a lot of things he's never done. And he's been out of the business for 5 going on 6 years. That would concern me.
So it didn't concern you that John Gruden was out of the business?
Yes! John Gruden!
John Gruden was the hottest.
How's he done?
Done horribly. Okay. But
I love Louis Riddick on TV.
Another couple guys, coach-wise, Bruce Arians. I
love him. There you go.
I love Bruce Arians.
Now we're talking.
I love what he's done. Quarterback developer, has an idea.
Straight shooter. Very honest about where they are.
I'm a guy who I love honest people, and Bruce Arians is an honest person. I'll tell you another name, Jerry Reese. Despite he won championships with the Giants,
right.
He built a consistent winner till it aged and fell apart on him, and he was sacrificed for it. And then George Patton, who used to be Rick Spielman's number 2 guy in Minnesota, used to be here with the Dolphins, knows the dynamics of South Florida, knows the situation, knows the area.
Yeah, I need to know.
And honestly, I believe Minnesota. I always admire teams, how they are built and how they play and their styles. 2 teams in the NFL right now that I'm rocking with. The Baltimore Ravens, not necessarily Lamar Jackson Ravens. I just like the physicality. I'm not a big believer in Lamar. No offense. I think he's going to be the RG3 of this.
He could be. That's valid.
When he loses his mobility and teams catch up to him,
that's valid. If he hasn't developed into
he's got to evolve.
Yeah.
And then the Minnesota Vikings, love the way they're built. Everything, every single component aspect of it, from the backs to the wide receivers to the quarterback. Love Kirk Cousins, to the defense, to their aggressive style. Love everything about them. So maybe one of the architects that built it, Rick Spielman, bring him back.
Okay, George Payton. I need to know more about George Payton.
Hey, Jeff Island's building a great team in New Orleans.
In a different role. But you're right. Hey, look, that's what happens. Guys run hot and cold. They're cold with the Dolphins.
They're cold, really cold with the Dolphins.
Let's remember, they haven't won anything in Minnesota the 13 years that Spielman's been. They won a few playoff games here and there. But I love what Minnesota's doing, but I need to.
Hottest team in the NFL is New Orleans. Jeff Allen, baby.
I agree. They're looking great. They're looking very good. 7-1 on the road. They're the team everybody's picking right now.
Interesting. Well, Dave, it's our annual trek to Buffalo that's coming on Sunday, the land of...
And you know why I'm smiling wide? I don't have to make that trek this year. I'm a happy boy this
You're
weekend.
You're going to miss out on the Buffalo Wings.
I do like the Buffalo Wings.
Buffalo Wings. The last time these two teams faced one another, the Bills lost in a heartbreaking fashion when Charles Clay, Josh Allen, the great quarterback, scrambling and elusive, he skirts around and dodges and dances, and eventually he finds a wide open Charles Clay in the end zone, and the ball is dropped. Time expires. Dolphins win that game. Season is saved. Yay. Should Miami need that type of luck to beat the Bills?
Should they? Look, should they need the Miami Miracle to beat New England? You can't rely on miracles and crossing your fingers this might happen. Isn't a game plan.
But it's so Dolphins.
It's so Dolphins. And not only so Dolphins, that people ascribe greatness to them because they never say die. We never quit.
They're relevant in December, Dave. They're relevant in December.
I almost chuckled at how many times I heard in the locker room. And look, I don't blame the players. They're in the moment, they're in the emotion, but we have a never say die attitude. So the teams that don't, in the last play of a double lateral, don't complete that, they die. They had a quitting attitude.
They never quit, Dave. But here's the most important question.
You can't rely on miracles.
We have seen after these last two losses that have basically spoiled the entire season, jovial locker rooms. After the game. That's the way I'll describe them.
That's troubling. That is troubling. Look, everybody takes losses differently.
Absolutely.
One way you shouldn't take them, however, look, I saw Ryan Tannehill when he was hurt leaving a stadium, when they got blown out by, I can't remember who, and somebody snapped a picture. He's smiling with his wife, and I'm thinking, that would make me throw up if I'm the owner after that. And you go in the locker room now, and there are people smiling and
joking,
and
laughing.
And again, people take losses differently.
Absolutely.
But
are you buying into them selling out for this coaching staff? Like if
you know what? I want to say they're pros.
Okay.
I'm going to come off that a little from some of the things I've seen, but they've been given a lot of excuses from the staff. Tough to win on the road. We're all hurt. And what Gay said publicly, you can be sure that just all of a sudden didn't bubble up. He's been thinking about that for a while. You give players enough, and I'm going to compare that to Eric Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra has had a lot of injuries. Chris Bosh, just his blood clots wrecked the franchise for a couple years. Right now, Goran Dragic is hurt. The only point guard they have on the team.
Deion Waiters
has been out. And yet you ask Spoelstra every single time, and it bothers reporters because every single time he says, we've got enough. And yet that's how a coach should and needs to and believe the answer. Instead we're hearing from Adam Gase, you ask about what happened this year, injuries. I'm sorry. That's giving the players an out. And they're going to take that out, and you wonder why people...
also has the approach of next man up. Everybody needs to step up, but let's be real.
Do they believe that?
There was one game, the Indianapolis Colts game, they had one healthy receiver on the field. One. How many teams go through that? One, Dave.
Who's the healthy receiver?
Kenny Stills.
What happened to Devontae Parker?
He was hurt. He was playing with the shoulder injury. Bryce Butler was there.
Okay, did that game come down to that?
Yeah, because Ryan Tannehill had nobody to talk to, and he ran a draw play.
Goodness.
Yeah, he did.
You're giving them that out.
No, I'm telling you what the facts are. You can't stop the run. Well, why can't you stop the run? Because you've had to sign 2 defensive tackles off the street mid-season.
But why have you had to do that?
Bad management.
And you got rid of Jordan Phillips. And again, he's not all pro, but he would help you.
He was a body.
He would help you.
He was a cancer, but he was a body. Jordan Phillips, looking forward to seeing you on Sunday, sir. I'm sure you'll show up.
Omar, just for a little background, Omar and Jordan have had a Twitter war through the years.
It's not a Twitter war. It's
a skirmish.
It's a skirmish.
A border skirmish. right, Omar, where are we now? Justin Dunker wants to know, will Josh Allen run wild on the Dolphins again this game? Allen had a 63.7 passer rating on the season, but he threw for 230 yards and 2 touchdowns and ran for 135 yards and 9 carries in Miami's win.
Well, the one thing that the Dolphins cannot account for, history says that, is a scrambling quarterback. Cannot, just not in the repertoire of things that we can really address and account for. So I'm going to say yes. He's going to run around, he's going to scramble, he's going to improvise, he's going to make plays, he's going to show that, hey, Buffalo, we got hope. Look at this, I beat the Dolphins. And it's going to be his marquee victory of the year.
I don't know how it's going to happen, but I agree. I think that Buffalo wins, goes to 6-10, Dolphins are 7-9, and you say, what's the difference between one franchise and another at this point?
LR Degenerate wants to know, now that the Dolphins are eliminated from the playoffs, what should we as fans be looking for from the Bills game?
I would say young players, but you've seen the young players they like most all year at this point. And so they're not. Adam Gase is on record saying he's going to play Ryan Tannehill. Frankly, I don't have any problem with that. Try to win the game.
Not try to win the game.
Yeah, some people are saying you should.
You might be fired. Why would you not try to win the game?
Some people are saying, like they did last year, play David Fales. Okay, I'm not going. I'm with you. I agree with you. Try to win the game as best you can.
Why would you not try to win the game? I think they're young players. Yes, definitely. The Raekwon McMillans, the Jerome Bakers,
Well, you've seen them all year.
Fitzpatrick.
You've seen them all
year. Yeah, but I
year.
want to see them continue to progress and get better. Jawan James, he's going to be a free agent. I need to see. It's been decent, solid, productive, but is it worth $50 million? You got to make that decision. He's going to get it from somebody.
You got to make the decision, direction of the franchise.
And Jesse Davis. Kyle Williams owned him the last time these two teams played. I mean, took his lunch money. Just went in his pocket and took it out his pocket. And I need to see him play better against Kyle Williams to be certain and convinced that he is the starting right guard. I think he might have to move to right tackle, to be honest with you. Because I don't know if the Dolphins are going to be paying. I don't know who's going to be in charge, but I don't know if they're going to be paying.
All right, one of the questions, Matt Burke, okay, and I'm not sure. I think he's a very convenient.
Him and Tannenbaum are the two convenient scapegoats.
And I'm not saying Matt Burke doesn't have issues, but to put it all on him. However, this is a game, you've played this offense recently. The only thing that hurt you was Josh Allen, and really the only thing that hurt you was his scrambling. Come up with a plan. Make it work. I mean, if he's going to beat you throwing, let him beat you throwing somehow, because you're going to intercept a couple and he's going to complete a few. But what crushed you last time was scrambling. I want to see something learned.
Can Josh Allen beat you? Who are some of the players? This question's come from I Am the Fan. Who are some of the players fighting for a job next season that we should be watching for versus the Bills?
Well, what you're looking right now is who do you want to invest in? Because I don't think there's really any great competition at jobs. You could say running back maybe, but
Kenyon Drake. Or
Balaj and
see what you got there.
But
Robert Quinn. That's enough.
There we go. Now we're talking.
38 tackles, 6.5 sacks. Maybe he gets
everybody on the defensive line. Frankly,
Cam Wake too.
Well, you're talking investment. How much do you want to invest in him? I want Cam Wake back at my price. Now, what's the price going to be? That's going to be the question. Robert Quinn, no impact.
$12.9 million in 2019.
Woo, that's a big price tag, Omar.
Yeah. Now, Mike Gesicki, Kalen Balaj.
Andre Branch.
Those are two. I need to see what Andre Branch for. Now, Devontae Parker. That's an interesting.
It's not interesting at all.
Yes, it is.
No, not at all.
If Devontae Parker has a 5th-year option where
$9.3 million.
If he plays in that game and he gets hurt.
Oh, we're talking Buffalo.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
If he plays in that game and he gets hurt, he's on the books for $9.3 million. Do you chance it?
I don't take him to Buffalo. You just stay here in Broward County and have a good weekend.
Oh, you got to take him to Buffalo. Then you're sending a message to your team. Matter of fact, you got to play him because you're sending a message to your team. We're not trying to win. Screw that. Not to say that he's helping you now. I act like he's helping you now. But every team needs a decoy. Yeah. So.
Well, he's been that this year. Okay, Juwan James, another one. I don't know that you need more information on these guys, but you have them. But you're going to have to make a decision on him. And to me, I don't know how you throw a average tackle overboard when you have so many other question marks. But we can get into that at a later time.
It will be so Dolphins. That's what this organization does. Decent talent gets thrown overboard.
Predictions, Omar. Who you got? This is season ender. Where are you at with the record this year?
I'm horrible. I keep picking.
You believe in him. You're a believer.
I believed in him. I believed in him, and I've learned my lesson about believing in this team. I have. I just have.
Did you say that last year?
That's true. I recycle that statement. I get to December and I realize, you idiot. As you, the fans, have realized, idiot. Poopy head. I'm going with Buffalo's going to pull it off. I've just been to too many of those games up in where
Orchard Park. Orchard Park, New York, Western New York.
Crap town.
Easy.
Listen. Buffalo people know I hate Buffalo. Let's be real about it. It's hard to win in Buffalo. I'm going to go with a 21-17 Bills victory. Gets them to 7-9. I really just don't. Players, it depends. Have they started moving their vehicles and homes and cars and families? Have they checked out?
That's my question, because they've been offered every excuse in the book by their head coach this week. Playing on the road, we're not very good. Injuries are bad. Boy, Jackson had a great Buffalo's got a great defense too. And you throw into that, the season's over for them. Everything they hope to accomplish is pretty much done. Now, I would hope they take the attitude to Cam Wake, a real pro, saying, you go out there because you're a pro and you're putting it on the line every Sunday. I'm not sure, for all the talk of building...
The next executive who takes over this organization, they're going to be watching this game and seeing...
Who we got.
And I don't know if you want to leave a bad impression, but I just think it's hard to win on the road, and this team has shown it's hard to win.
That's why I'll go with Buffalo. We'll say 20-13.
Well, that's it for X's and Omar. We will be back here next week for the season wrap-up and maybe talking about changes made.
I would guess we'll talk about Ryan Tannehill.
All
the same old topics,
Chris
right?
Greer, Adam Gase, what to do with Cam Wake, Devontae Parker. Things we've been discussing all year. That's so Dolphins.